Ready?
Yeah, the dog show. Woo. You ready? The dog show with Nick and Joe. It's a beast. It's going down. It's off the chain. It's off the leash. I'm tuning in Friday every week. The dog show podcast. Yes, indeed. Hold up. Check out the podcast. Listen to it online. Giving you advice to help train your K9. Take your dog to the next level from the experts of obedience. The dog show, dog show. Guaranteed you're needing this.
Hey.
Off the leash. K9 training, Facebook, and IG. And the site is so amazing. Yeah. The dog show with Nick and Joe.
Hey.
Hold up. The dog show with Nick and Joe. Hey.
It is good to be back. Let's get into some show sponsors. I want to thank DemonABiteSuits.com. DemonABiteSuits.com. Check them out on their website, on Facebook. Owner Chris Bell, super great guy. Best suits in the world.
He's aight.
Oh, Chris is the man. He's more than aight. Anyhow, best suits in the world. Everything from training suits to competition suits like Mr. Cody Talent wears. And anyhow, use discount code DOGSHOW at the end. You're going to get 10% off your entire order. So definitely check them out. Also want to thank floweroflifecbd.com, FOLCBD.com, Flower of Life. CBD products are absolutely amazing. Mr. White here and myself are huge advocates. We give them to our dogs, to us, and everybody feels better.
I actually have a CBD pen on me now if you want to try it.
Nice. I will. Maybe later on in the show. Website is FOLCBD.com. Use discount code DOGSHOW for 10% off your entire order with them. Also, not least, we want to thank Whistle GPS collars for sponsoring tonight's show. They are little tracking devices, about the size of a quarter, little tags you put on your dog's just normal flat collar, and you can do live tracking on your phone with their app. And you can, if your dog ever kind of gets loose and is wandering the neighborhood, you can, just pull up the app and see exactly where he or she is at. So use discount code DOGSHOW when checking out with those guys, and you're going to get, I believe, $15 off each unit you order, that's a hell of a discount.
Yeah, it's not even expensive.
They're not expensive.
Yeah.
So when you get $15 off of, I believe, $60.
I was gonna say 60, 70.
It's actually a pretty good deal. So thank you to all three of those sponsors. We love you guys, and we appreciate having you sponsor this show. Let's get into it.
Power up request received. Initiating systems. Powering of transmitters. Live from OLK9 Studios in Virginia. They tell it like they see it. They educated the not so educated. And you'll laugh your ass off. Introducing The Dog Show with Nick and Joe. A podcast with knowledgeable info, rants, and absolute randomness. You're listening to the sounds of uncensored honesty from two of the most respected dog trainers in the industry. Live on Facebook every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. New episodes available for download every Saturday. The Dog Show with Nick and Joe. Download on iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio.
All right. Welcome to The Dog Show, episode number 19.
Yes.
We are happy to be back, right?
Very. It's been a while.
It's been, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a
crazy.
while. We actually had to do like 12 audio checks before we came on to make sure everything was
versus the normal 9.
Had to dust the old mics off, but anyhow, we are happy to be back. We have a special guest in studio, Mr. Chris Baity. You may have seen him on the recent television show, which was
Returning the Favor.
Mike Rowe is the host of that. So if you haven't, go check that out. I think it's on YouTube by now, I would have to assume.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely check that out. But anyhow, Chris is with Semper K9 Assistance Dogs. He's the founder of it. And I've known Chris for several years now. What's it been, 5 or 6 years at this point?
Actually, if you remember, I don't remember when you deployed your first time, 2004?
No.
No,
That wasn't me.
Okay, it wasn't you then.
No. No, first time we met was when we went fishing with Tank, actually.
Yep.
I think that was the first time.
Yeah,
that was
I was still doing bedbug dogs
Yep,
at the time,
yep.
so that would have been 2005, 11.
Yeah.
Something like that.
so-
Yeah, it was a
5
while ago,
years.
2011, 2012. So anyhow, we're gonna talk a lot to Chris about what he does, how the show was, and maybe some back details on what happened behind the scenes, if anything cool's coming out of that. So excited to talk about service dogs tonight. It has definitely been a topic that's been in high demand. It's
been in the news a lot.
Email, and it's all over the place. Also happy to have my buddy Mr. Nick White sitting across the table from me.
What's up, guys?
What's going on with you, man?
Busy. That's why we haven't done the show.
Yeah, it's been hectic.
I was in Sacramento for a week training a UFC star, former UFC champion Cody Garbrandt's dog. I think I was back for a week. And then I was back in California doing comedian actor Brian Callen's dog. He's in the Hangover movies, pretty popular stand-up comedian. He's been in a lot of shit at this point. His dog Nico, which is a corgi. So if you guys haven't, definitely check out that video. It was pretty impressive.
That was a good one.
Day one video. And then I came back from doing Brian Callen's dog, and I think 2 days later, I started Bruce Allen's dog, Bravo, the president of the Washington Redskins dog. And if you guys want to see quite possibly the most impressive off-leash heel video in the world of dog training, I would definitely go to our Facebook page, scroll through this after the show, and watch my and Bravo's 30-minute off-leash heel through Times Square in New York. With
It was extremely
literally
impressive.
every distraction that you could imagine and more. And that was on training day 7 with Bravo, and she's a 5-month-old puppy. So definitely check that out. And that's what I'm doing now. Bravo and I are now on day 8 of 14.
And that's a GSP, right?
She is, yeah. She's a German short-haired pointer.
And for those that have never been around a puppy GSP,
They're pretty excitable, to say the least.
they're like mouths when they're puppies, man.
So
they
it'll make the 30-minute off-leash heel on Times Square even more impressive if you've ever been around a 5-month-old German short-haired pointer.
Yeah, those dogs are off the wall for sure.
So that's what I've been doing, and man, I just have a busy time. So I had 3 of those in a row, and then I finished their dog. Well, I mean, she's finished now, but they pick her up on the 30th. And then on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I'm in Blacksburg, Virginia, teaching tracking.
That's right.
And then on the 4th, literally, I finished tracking on the 3rd, and the 4th, I go to Fiji, and I'm there for a week, roughing it, doing some like shark behavioral shaping, stuff like that.
Say whatever you want that writes that trip off.
And then doing some free shaping with sharks and shit like that out there.
How you get the collar on him?
What's that?
How
No,
you get the
free
collar on
shaping.
him?
Doing
Free
free
there
shaping.
you go.
Yeah, we're doing
Food reward?
Yeah, marker
My arm.
training, and teaching them like do send-aways out to boats and stuff like that. So I'm there for a week in Fiji. I get back from Fiji on the 14th, and then on the 15th, my good friend Bob Salamini is going to be staying with me, and he's teaching a lot of our trainers. He's doing a 3-day decoy seminar. If you're not familiar with Bob, he's the president of NARA, the North American Ring Association. He's won countless French ring national champions, decoy, world championships, yada, yada. The list goes on and on. So he's here for 3 days. And then I think I have a break after that.
Huh.
So I'm pretty much booked every day from now until
2019.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been busy.
Yeah.
And I know you've been busy too. You have a couple dogs right now, right?
Yeah.
Some Caps players' dog or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Congrats to those guys, by the way,
Yeah,
for
Jesus.
finally bringing Washington to a championship.
See, Caps, it just goes to show you need to bring Joe or I your dog every playoff season, and maybe you won't choke like normal.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I got.
They're not worried about their dog at home. They're
Yeah,
like, "No, we're good, man. My
exactly.
kid's
Yeah.
in the game."
So I have Philip Grubauer, the goalie for the Capitals, one of the goalies. His dog, Leo, which is very timid, very fearful guy, but it's been 4 days, and man, he's really starting to impress me. He's a super smart dog. Anyhow, that after video will be coming out sometime next week. And then, yeah, we got a lot of things going on with the dog show. We have our official shirt store. It's somewhere on our Facebook page. If you go to the Dog Show with Nick and Joe Facebook, you can click on the links. Several different styles that you can order. Man, these are the most comfortable shirts too. I know
It looks comfortable.
I know you haven't worn yours yet,
No.
but it is fucking amazingly comfortable. I absolutely love it. So check that out. And then I also want to thank, you don't even realize this yet, thank Chris for, that's the shirts that he gave us. Those are sick.
Yeah, I dig it.
So I'm super excited to have that on. So thank you for that. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. JJ Seabrassi. He always yells at me for saying Seabreeze.
That's what, dude. That's what I always say too. I'm like,
sent-
yeah, it's JJ Sabreeze. Everyone
Yeah.
knows him.
He sent us these shirts. We're going to wear them on a future episode. I didn't wear it today because it's fucking hot outside and this thing's black. So I didn't want to go there. And it's just a little bit of a thicker material than the current one. So anyhow, thank you to those guys. That's yours, Nick.
Thank you. Thanks, JJ.
Yep. Thanks, JJ. So tonight is service dogs. There is a lot of shit going on around the country about service dogs. I'd like to start off with the topic that I hold near and dear to my heart. United Airlines.
And if you guys, really quick, if you guys have any questions about like service dogs or anything like that, feel free to comment below. We'll try to get to a lot of them and let this legend himself answer your questions.
That's right.
That's a little much.
But United Airlines, everybody knows all the shit
Yeah.
that they've been through, right? So they have recently, and this isn't necessarily service dog related, but close enough. They have recently lifted the suspension of their pet program. Were you aware of that?
I did not see that.
So remember, they suspended the
Yeah.
entire
'Cause
indefinitely.
people were bringing in like fucking service peacocks.
Well, and they
and,
killed the French
Yeah,
bulldog.
they killed that, and then the German Shepherd got on like a flight to China instead of
Jesus.
Texas. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just had a lot of shit going on.
So a couple of weeks ago, they actually lifted that suspension, except they put a new policy down, which
Let's
we all
hear it.
knew they were going to fucking do.
Nothing other than a dog.
Nope.
No?
So,
No.
and they did dogs only. So no
No
parrots,
service
Yeah,
peacocks.
parrots,
turkeys.
pigeons.
Yeah,
there
none
were
of that shit.
hamsters. I
Yep.
think there was 4 main.
Service peacock.
Yeah.
Right. So it has to be a dog.
Good.
But here's the shitty part: they put a list of breeds that aren't allowed.
Ugh. Well, well, there's a lot of reasons that piss me off. Behavior breed specific legislation, aka racism for dogs. The problem with
that was deep.
well, it's just true. I mean, right? What
that is
it's-
one way
it's
to
just
look
true.
at it,
It's
yeah.
very accurate. It's racism for
Especially in
dogs.
this area, Maryland has notoriously been horrible about
well,
it for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're garbage when it comes to
Breedism.
that. Yeah, Maryland. That's why I live in Virginia. I can't live in a state that promotes racism. So, well, I mean, they do. I mean, it's just fact. It really is. So,
Here come the email.
well, it's just true. But yeah. So what pisses me off about them doing that's the main reason. Is this bullshit that I can go into that forever, but we can do a whole show on this. But other than that, what pisses me off about it is like none of your fuck ups. United, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was making sure I didn't say the wrong airline.
Yeah.
None of United Airlines fuck ups have had anything to do with breed. You know what I mean?
Well, hold on. Before you go further, so their justification on a lot of the breeds was the short snout because of breathing at high altitudes, because it was a French bulldog, pushed in face.
So they fucked up on a French bulldog. So now they're
banning.
French bulldogs because they fucked up. All right,
Yep.
next one.
Well, it's any short snout breed, and then there's a few dangerous breeds that are on there, I believe, as well. I could be wrong about that, but I do know there are several breeds. If somebody has that link, post it. I'd like to see it again. It's been a couple of weeks since I've seen it, but anyhow, they're gonna, fucking United is gonna go out of business with this pet shit. I mark my words.
They should have just stuck to no pets.
I
I
agree.
feel like that would have been the better
I agree.
career or corporate move. It was just said, yeah, we said no pets, move on.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of because then once you start getting into like the breed specific, like no pit bulls, and you know, I don't know if that's on their list. When you said that, that's what I just assumed.
don't know.
But I feel like it's just easy. It's better to just say none of them than okay, they can, but this list of mean, aggressive, or short-nosed dogs can't be on it. Because I feel like that's, yeah, I just feel like it's better for them to just say no dogs and leave it at that. What do you think?
Well, I'm just curious because I know most places to avoid that as you put it, that racism for dogs.
Yeah, I mean,
they
that's what
put
it
that
is.
weight limit. So the dog that's no dog over 55 pounds, which is
Or
a
35,
common,
they could
yeah,
be safe there probably.
and that eliminates, obviously a lot of breeds, especially
Yeah.
when you're talking about, service dogs, or even, in certain cases, emotional support animals or emotional support dogs. They're going to be larger dogs.
Ooh, so that's a question, Joe.
What's up?
All right, so out of those short-nosed dogs or the dangerous dogs, what if it's a short-nosed dog that's a service dog?
Specifically,
Oh.
boxers. Does boxers fall? Because I would consider that.
Yeah, boxer is on the list.
What if it's a short-nosed dog that's a service dog? Then what? Now what do you do?
They can't do shit.
They have to allow it then,
They have
right?
to.
Yeah, either way, it really depends on the process, because especially when you're talking about service dogs, when you go into the airport, it's not TSA doesn't care, the FAA doesn't care. It's all about the airline's policy on you bringing that dog on board, whether you're labeling as emotional support dog or a service dog. With service dog, it's still going to fall under ADA and the Air Carrier Access Act. There's no limiting. If you say, oh, you can't bring this dog because he's a certain nose. If it's a health challenge, we don't want. But I think you're gonna get backlash from United.
Yeah, but I think that's just bullshit. Like,
It is.
I mean,
Well, they
and this
fucked
is,
up.
and this is getting deep. Like, a 9-month-old baby can fly, right? So, does a 9-month-old baby have a smaller, more caved-in nose than a pit bull or a pug? I mean, I'm serious. Think about that.
That's a good point.
So it's like, how come a 9-month-old baby can fly? They have a fucking short nose, much shorter than a pug or any of those. So
that is deep.
Thank
right
you.
there.
Well,
Nice.
and also the side of is, what does the nose have to do? If the dog is obviously put into a collapsible kennel or put in the overhead bin above the car,
Well, yeah, that's-
there's going to be challenges.
I
with
wouldn't want to be in the
ventilation.
I wouldn't want to be in the overhead bin. And I have a non-flat nose.
Dude, mark my words. United is going to be bought out. By the way, we're Delta fans, so if Delta's watching, you want to sponsor the show, reach out. But they're
I've
going to get
always had-
bought out.
I've always had. So if you remember, there was an issue. I think it was 2012. We had a service dog of the year got denied access.
Yeah,
on
we
a
know.
flight.
I know the guy.
Yeah.
I coached his son in football.
Jason Haig.
Yeah.
So what was funny about that, American Airlines at the time, I were notoriously the worst airlines to fly with a dog, whether it was a military working dog, whether it was your emotional support dog, or whatever. It was just getting an animal in the cabin was horrible. After that backlash with the Jason Haig and the Axel issue, they completely flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And they became very, very inclusive, and I've flown with them almost every single time I've had to fly with a dog. With
And they've
zero
been cool
problems.
about it?
Yeah, they even sponsored a flight where I went down to Puerto Rico and brought back a
And
service
who is this
dog.
American?
This was American Airlines. And,
Sounds like something an American airline would do.
and, what's I've learned too is when you're booking your flight, if you're upfront and honest with them, they give you that icon when you're logging when you book your flight. They give you that icon. Do you need special assistance? And it may be travel from the terminal to your plane. It may be I need wheelchair access. Whatever it is, but specifically it'll say I'm flying with an assistance dog.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes to when you're going through security and you actually are boarding the plane, whether you're falling under the ADA or the Air Carrier Access Act.
And you've never had any issues flying with American?
Nope.
that's
Every time
awesome.
I've flown with them, piece of cake. I flew United with a military working dog several times.
And
never
they
had a
probably
problem.
like dragged you off
But
the
what you
flight
gotta
and beat you.
understand.
No, I actually have I believe it was my second deployment with an SSD, and we flew commercial to Germany, and we flew in the cabin with our dogs. But beforehand, when we in the military, you do a mega travel.
Yeah.
So everything was kind of set up, and we were pretty adamant with when we were flying. Hey, we don't want to put our dogs in the belly of the plane.
Yeah.
And they put us in the very back 2 rows, and they were offset, but I had 1 row all to myself, and the other handler I was with had another aisle all to itself. And we had one person as we got on first, and then we had a lady got on, and she complained. She kind of pitched a fit. She didn't want to be near the dog. Was allergic, so on and so forth. And ended up, after a little bit of berating, eventually got her back up to the front of the plane, and they came back and got us, and we were like, crap, we're gonna have to. I thought we were gonna get deboarded, came up, put us in first class.
Nice.
And then sent her back to
Nice.
our,
You're like,
our
thanks.
original
You're
seat.
like, thanks for bitching, lady.
Yeah.
Exactly. The pilot was talking to her off the side, and we walked by, and we thought we were leaving, and he's like, no, come up here front and put us in first class. Would you like some champagne for the flight? And
That's
it was,
awesome.
sorry.
But one thing you guys got to understand is, I mean, you're a trainer, and those were working dogs at the time, and I completely support actual service dogs going on the planes.
Yeah, it's just people fuck it up.
There's, I guarantee you, this is, I would have to say that over 60% of the service dogs that are going on in the cabins are not real fucking service dogs.
Yeah,
I
easily
would
that.
guess over 60%, honestly.
Oh, I would say the same.
I always say that you don't. It's hard to point out, a illegitimate or a
I can with
counterfeit service dog.
obedience. I mean,
Exactly, but that's where the challenge is when you're defining ADA and service dogs is, okay, what makes it a service dog versus a really well trained pet, and it all comes down to that doctor's note. So when you're flying with a dog, whether he's got a long nose, a short nose, whatever breed he is, it doesn't matter. Hey, my doctor is prescribing me this dog as he's durable medical equipment, no different than a wheelchair or a cane. I'm legally obligated, or I'm legally allowed. You're obligated to allow me on the plane.
Correct.
And I always teach all my veterans, all my students, even our canine coaches, anybody who's working with service dogs, your dog has to be controllable and unobtrusive. You know, and that's
Can't disrupt the business.
exactly. So, everything aside, disability mitigating tasks, none of that stuff matters. FAA is not going to really ask. That TSA is not
Show
going
us.
to care. Exactly.
Give us a
Show us
demo.
what your task is.
Yeah.
It really comes down to credible verbal reassurance. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a service dog, just like a police officer. Hey,
Yeah.
let me see your ID. What are you doing over here? That police officer has 3 forms of
You talk the
identification.
part, you look the part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got a weapon. He's showing his ID. He's acknowledging I'm police. On official.
First, you show up in like
duties.
fucking sandals, and your service dog's
Exactly.
dragging you around the airport.
So when it comes down, every time I've flown, and I've flown with a service dog, I've flown with service dogs in training, I've flown with military working dogs, and each time it's the dog is behaved, the dog is controllable, the dog appears, and you're able to answer the questions. If someone says, "Oh, you step over here," when I fly with a dog or I'm going through security checkpoints, there's always a second option. There's always, if your dog's not trained to be able to get through the security checkpoint without flipping out, then obviously that's your biggest challenge. So if he's looking the part, acting the part, you've got your doctor's note.
That totally makes sense. But I got a question for you, Nick. I want to ask Chris this because he works with service dogs every day. When you see service dogs out in public, what percentage do you think, for you personally, are, in your opinion, fake ones versus real ones? If you had to put a percentage on it.
Probably 50-60%, I would say.
Yeah.
Real versus fake.
That's fucking sad, man.
Yeah.
That's going to kill the service dog program. That scares me. It really does.
What percentage would you say?
I'd say it's
Same.
I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
Everyone you see, it's and it really comes down to, are they pushing the dog as a service dog, or are they training the dog is currently a service dog in training?
Yeah.
And a lot of organizations, a lot of that I've the ones that I see putting out a few service dogs, or I get and I'm sure you guys run into them. Hey, I got this dog from so and so, and here he is trained, and I can't get him to do this, that, or the other. A lot of times it's just they don't know how to finish the training with the dog.
Yeah.
And that's, you go, if Google or DOJ.gov and look up the Service Dog Act, and there's a quick blurb in there that defines, and it doesn't talk about what type of disability you have. It doesn't talk
it's
about.
so generalized, though.
It is specifically to protect disabled
We
Americans.
we talk about this all the time, whereas there's no actual
criteria.
That was
There's
actually
no-
going to be my question, and I think he'd be a good person to ask this question. You, as a sole service dog trainer, do you personally think that certification should be like legislated, like an official, like a driver's license, an official?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we started Semper K9 in 2014, after I just completed almost a year internship with a couple of service dog organizations, as well as ones attached to Assistance Dog International. So I kind of saw that broad range of what was working within the service dog world and what wasn't. So when we started Semper K9, we wanted to streamline the whole process, and it really came down to dissecting ADA. What does it say? This is a service dog. Unfortunately, ADA doesn't put out. There's no standards for it.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It literally is how you read the actual ADA.gov. How does it read to you? It doesn't necessarily mention how old the dog is. It doesn't mention how much training he has, and it doesn't even say you hear the word, what are your dog's 3 disability mitigating tasks, which you don't find that anywhere actually in ADA. It doesn't say 3. It says tasks or abilities. It just makes it plural.
Yeah.
And that's, as a service dog trainer, and for those who are listening, this is the cheat sheet, when it comes to disability mitigating tasks. If the dog is trained, the dog's controllable, the dog's unobtrusive, the dog, like the videos you see with off-leash canine, being able to ignore their environment and walk around, that is the first task of every service dog.
Yeah.
Being able to help their handler navigate the public. They're durable medical equipment. So it's, if my wheelchair's got flat tires, it's not greased up and doesn't get me where it's not much of a durable medical
benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So your dog has to be behaved, and that's if someone who's visually impaired and they have a seeing eye dog, they can't get to work without that dog. That dog's first task is to help them navigate their environment. So the second part of it too is when you get into the plural portion of disability mitigating tasks with service dogs, it's directly related to your personal challenges. Obviously visible wounds are, a little more easily explainable. My dog helps me with brace. My dog helps pick up things and move things, push buttons, whatever it is, because I'm either wheelchair bound or have a bad back or I'm missing a leg.
Yeah.
Whatever your situation is. The reason I don't like certain certifications or a national certification is because not every trainer, not every dog is going to be the same, and specifically, every disability is different.
Yeah.
Whether it's a right leg that you're missing or a left leg.
Or psychological.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when you go into, this the 9100 schedule of DSM-5, the Diagnostic Scientific Manual, it says these are accepted mental health disabilities. Whether it's schizophrenia, bipolar, agoraphobia, antisocial disorder, the newer stuff, which is that major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety. These are the things that differentiate between your needs with whether you're getting an emotional support animal, more specifically emotional support dog, or you need a service dog.
Correct.
An emotional support dog isn't trained to do anything.
No.
Yeah.
He literally is just makes me feel better. He
As
helps
I
me
say,
release endorphins.
as I
They
always
need to get
say-
rid of ESCs.
I say it's a privatized therapy dog.
Yeah.
Like, it's a therapy dog for you.
So the theory for me goes, when they made the change between DSM-4 and DSM-5, you actually introduced generalized anxiety, and that was more accepted as an ailment with other mental health disabilities.
Sure.
So the anxiety was kind of attached to, here, we're going to give you, there's just emotional support animal because you can't travel in public transit. You can't fly on your plane. You can't stay in your hotel room. You can't. Your apartment building's got a rule against dogs altogether. So it was okay. We want to get you your medication, your durable medical equipment. In these certain situations, specifically those housing and those travel. Now a service dog, you can't even move. You can't get from point A to point B without your dog. With mental health disabilities, agoraphobia, generalized anxiety, these are all things I don't even want to go outside. I don't, just the commute, dealing with people, all those things. So, the service dog may be trained to do this, that, or the other. He may be responding to behavior. He may be facilitating behaviors. He may be interrupting, certain, ailments, whether it's fidgeting, whether it's, compartmentalization, even emotional outbursts, whatever the dog is trained to do. It's just catered specifically to your needs so you can survive your trip to work, loosely termed there, survived. But, that's the challenge with emotional support animals is, why is it not a service dog?
So, I agree with that. That's why I say they need to shit can ESDs and make a mental health the same as physical
it's
health.
like it's almost like you could say an emotional support animal is really a service dog in training. He's just not completed enough tasks.
Then fucking call it a service dog in training.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Why
So,
rename it and give it special
if you really want
privileges?
If you really want to spark the debate, I think it goes, and I said this in a different interview too. I think the treatment plan your doctor gives you with a service dog should be something to get you that short-term and long-term goals, whether it's getting back into your recreational lifestyle, whether it's, hey, I need to be able to, be social with my friends, be social with my family and my children, or, I got to be able to get to work. I work with a lot of veterans who, they telecommute, they work a couple of days a week because they just cannot deal with the office. And, you give them a service dog, you give them that almost, I don't like to use the term battle buddy, but it's, kind of what it is. It's that confidence, that independence to get there, but the dog still has to be able to perform something directly related to your disability. Until that point, call it emotional support animal, call it a service dog in training, the nomenclature is kind of just absolute, is the dog completely trained or not?
Yeah. No, and I'm with you. I just don't think that an ESD, which needs less training than a therapy dog, has more privileges than a therapy dog.
And
it makes no fucking sense to me.
And when you look at the legislation, service dogs are afforded pretty much free access to just about anything
everywhere.
That's not a religious preference or a personal, like you can't just show up to your buddy's house who's scared of dogs and say, hey, I'm bringing my service dog in.
Yeah.
Well, no, he can tell you no.
Or allergic or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when you get into fear and you get into the allergies, that's just, discomfort.
Yeah, sure.
I've never heard of, and if there's any doctors listening, please, I'd love to be able to have some case studies for this, but I've never heard anybody that's, you hear the term deathly allergic.
Yeah.
Like, name one person,
that's died from petting a dog.
So,
that's true.
That's deep.
Fear goes the same way. I've worked
I'm sure
with several.
It happens though.
It does. I mean, I've had several veterans who have reported and have had patrons at restaurants and places complain about their dog for either, hey, I'm allergic to dogs. For the most part, I kind of joke around if you've ever met someone who's sensitive to like metals. Or somebody who's
like the perfume you're wearing.
Exactly. So if a lady walked in and she was wearing a lot of perfume, and somebody's gonna complain, can you get her out of here? It's along the same lines. Yes, it can be, obtrusive to the rest of the people to deal with the pungent odor, but it just comes with being in public.
Yeah.
It's just like a baby. It's like you don't kick a baby out because he shit his
each
diaper and
restaurant
everyone smells it.
We'll make it like every college
Oh, you
campuses.
don't?
Every restaurant will have like a cry room for the restaurant. Like if you're allergic to my service dog, you can go in the cry room.
Yeah. So I don't know if you listened to the episode, but I don't even know if you remember. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about service dogs. Maybe a couple months ago, we were talking about service dogs, and I said I had the fucking solution.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember that? We actually came up with something that was legit. Because our argument was, it's impossible to select or to implement laws for service dogs because you can't depend on the congressman to make those laws because they don't know shit about dogs or dog training, right?
No.
So they would have to appoint an official expert,
a think tank.
I
call it the dog crate
to use to come up with these policies, right? So I said, fuck it, I'll do it. And what I'll do is I'll gather the country's best trainers that I know, in off leash or outside of off leash. We'll sit at a round table. And we'll come up with a 100% agreement on
these are the standards.
What are the standards for a service dog? So what you don't know is I actually wrote my congressman right after that show and brought that up. And I even asked him, hey, come on the show. Let's chat.
Did you get a response?
I did.
Oh, nice.
I got a response that said, I will respond shortly. So Rob Whitman, I'm calling you out.
Rob Whitman.
That was 3 weeks ago.
Oh, man. Need to get on them emails.
Elections are coming, brother.
So
write me back.
So you bring up a good point. Talking about certification, talking about standards, Semper K9, we co-founded an association of service dog providers for military veterans.
Yep.
And in 2015, we actually got together and created a service dog standards. The bonus to it is, for those who follow organizations that train service dogs, there isn't a full-on, step-by-step policy on this is how the dog's trained. This is how the money should be spent. This is the type of people that are getting service dogs, and this is what when the dog is finished, has graduated, has met their has met their requirements for under ADA
Right.
a service dog. Now what do we do? So the association created those standards, and with that we reintroduced the PAWS Act, which is HR 2327, and that is and I actually brought you a copy of it.
Thank you.
So Senator DeSantis is the one who sponsored this bill. I think we're only a few signatures away from getting it pushed to the next level.
Is Rob Whitman on it?
I believe he should be. If he's not, then
I doubt it. He probably never responded to the request.
No, I've worked.
I was going to say, well, that explains why he didn't write me back. He's like, oh, you fucking loser. We already got something going.
Yeah. So, but this was a reintroduction, and what most people, I guess, miss when they read it, because there's a couple of bills, or there's a couple of what's the first process? I'm just a bill. How's it go?
I don't know.
Before it's a bill. Anyways,
I try to stay away from politics
Yeah, I
as
do
much
too.
as possible.
that's as far as I know, to just the beginning of the song. But so there's a couple of pieces of legislation that are specifically are trying to framework how to provide service dogs for specifically military veterans. But what's important about the PAWS Act is it's reallocating funds that are already available that is just not getting to
Not being used.
It's not being used. I wish I had someone who could school me on exactly how the process works. But more what's important about the PAWS Act is it's specifically titling psychiatric alert dogs, and that's where that emotional support animal, that division goes, versus, hey, this is a service dog. What type of service dog is it? What is its specialty? You know, and this is more inclusive to PTSD, traumatic brain injury, military sexual trauma, and more specifically veterans. So I love the way the PAWS Act's written. It's not meant to pull funding from something else. It's a reallocation of money that is already there. It's just not getting spent.
Yeah.
There was numbers came out. I think it was either 2 years. It was either last year or 2 years ago, where there were bonuses for the upper echelon within the VA, within the
They
government.
saved.
They got money. They got
For
here's
saving.
$100,000 bonus because they didn't spend this money. This
Yeah,
service dog
right.
money never got spent. So
Yeah.
with
That's why politicians are usually assholes. Because of shit like that.
I've actually I've worked with Delegate Anderson when he was still in office. His wife Ruth, Rob Whitman, Delegate, or excuse me, I forget his name. He's gonna kill me later, and he'll probably say something to me next time I see him. You could remember my name. But I've gotten a lot of these politicians in the districts in Virginia are, a lot of them are veterans, or a lot of them are very veteran centers, and they're part of several committees. I met with Barbara Comstock last week, and we went over some of the stuff. And she's actually they're having a vote, I believe next week, and there's 14 specific policies that they're adding into specifically for veterans programs.
Nice.
So, the politicians, they're there. I know they're busy, just like you guys have to 100 things to do throughout the week. I think veterans issues are at the top of their plate. But I think there's a lot of stuff going on around it. But I've gotten really lucky and had a lot of support with what we're doing and what we're trying to do. The association, as well as what the PAWS Act is trying to put in place. I think those are going to curb a lot of the challenges. And
So is this going to add a new entity to the service dog, or are you trying to
Standardize it?
Get this a part of the service dog,
So-
the official service dog?
Which part of the PAWS Act?
Yeah.
So the PAWS Act is essentially so the way I believe the framework currently for the way the funding goes out is the veterans have to apply for it specifically. The biggest challenge with the VA.
No.
is-
I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're good.
I mean like the dog. Is it going to be called a PAWS dog, or is it going to be?
Oh no, it'll still be a service dog.
Okay, that was my
it's
question.
just the PAWS Act, is kind of the name of it. It's actually, I think, PAWS Act 2 because it's the second
Gotcha.
reintroduction. They reframed a lot of the stuff in there. But what happened is you'll see the term through the VA, for the readers who have, or for the listeners who've, are dealing with the VA, with their service dog, with their emotional support animal. The challenges is continuity across the board. Whether you go to a clinic in Oregon to Florida, the doctor's note's going to be different. The diagnosis for your disability is going to be different, and they have zero to do with the dog. And that's the challenge, and that's what the association did when we created standards. Was said, okay, these organizations originally, I believe there were 7 founding members, including Semper K9 and Canines for Warriors, who's probably the largest provider.
So what, Mike Ritlin?
Yeah, no, that's
Warrior Foundation. Yeah, Canine Warrior Foundation.
I think they're in Florida, right?
Yeah, Canines for Warriors in Florida, and I think they've done over 500 service dogs, in I believe 5 or 6 years. What's important about it is, it's an inclusion of mental health specific dogs, and I've been using the term for probably close to a year now, that mental health mobility service dog. And the reason being is, it goes back to, like I was saying earlier, a service dog's first job is to get you from place to place, to navigate in the public. So when it comes to mental health mobility dogs, is I have agoraphobia, I have generalized anxiety, whatever your challenge is, I don't want to go out, I don't want to go to work. My dog gets me there. My dog's is trained to like that battle buddy mentality, but the dog still has to perform tasks for them. But whether the person's blind or whether they have a mental health challenge that keeps them from going in public, the dog, that's their primary goal. That is their job. So the standards the association put out was combining all these organizations, all the pros, the cons, all the good things, the bad things, what's worked, what hasn't, and I think we were somewhere around 1,000 dogs that as a a collective effort that all these organizations have learned from, have produced, and said, okay, this is how the dog's trained, this is how many hours it's going to take, this is how this is the it's not this breed is perfect for it. It's the dog has to be able to pass a canine good citizen test or equivalent, even to the not giving AKC too much plugs here, but the urban canine, all that stuff. So when it comes to the standards, it really comes is that dog completely doing his job without the aid of a trainer. So it's not, hey, my service dog, I have to work with my trainer every week and correct behavior.
Yeah.
He's got I've got to take extra toys and balls, and I've got to sneak out of work for an hour.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. All that's, it makes sense to me. What I don't think that aligns with is who is a service dog and who is not. That tells who the pause dogs are. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to recognize that these are legitimate service dogs if they've been certified through Semper K9, K9 Foundation of America, whatever it is, then they're official service dogs. My problem with the service dog issue right now is that in general, there's nothing that says that is federally recognized as what is a service dog. Right?
I've never actually heard it worded that way.
That's the problem. I feel like to me, it's not. For our veterans who need them, whether it's for physical assistance or mental assistance, they should get them without a doubt. But how do you determine who is able to certify those dogs? Because as of right now, my neighbor who owns a Japanese restaurant could certify a service dog according to the ADA.
Correct.
And that's why I think it's why it's worded that way, because it doesn't eliminate owner trained situations or even businesses that, hey, I paid $20,000 to have my dog trained versus I trained it myself.
But it should. It should.
Well, in Virginia's, you kind of have like a little cheat, especially if you stick to your local and your state laws and codes and statutes related to animals. In Virginia, a service dog in training has to be at least 6 months old. So anybody who's running around in Virginia saying their 3-month-old dog is their service dog, or even their service dog in training, technically, if you follow the law for just Virginia, the dog's not even eligible to be a service dog yet because he's not even old enough. From a trainer's perspective, I could say, I can train this 3-month-old dog to do this, that, and the other, and he could, behave in public. But that doesn't make him a service dog.
Correct.
It barely makes him a service dog in training.
Well, and what scares me about that is because the reason why I'm so passionate about that, about coming up with some kind of law that says what is a service dog and what is not, and a standardized guideline. The reason why I'm so passionate about that is because there are so many fake-ass service dogs out there that I legitimately fear that something is going to happen or a string of events are going to happen that are eventually the government or somebody in the government is going to stand up and say, we just got to shit can the entire service dog program. If we can't allow fake ones in our establishments,
People getting bit and
it's kind of like, I mean,
Right.
look at it like guns. It's kind of that you can look at it the same way.
Well, so the one thing that to me that separates, if I see someone and I see their dog and their dog's behaved and I have, nothing to, right there in front of me that physically would say, okay, this dog's not a service dog and this is the reason why. It always comes back down to the handler, So when a service dog, is prescribed by a doctor to a handler, it's almost like it's an order. You need this dog to be able to survive. That's where when I want a service dog or I want an emotional support animal, it's like, okay, well, a doctor is prescribing because you need it. You can't function. That's hence disability. So the doctor's note, is kind of your first, tell. Obviously, it's there's HIPAA challenges in there. Not everybody. If you stay in a hotel, if you're benefiting from the Fair Housing Act or Air Carrier Access Act, they can legally, that business, the landlord can legally ask for your doctor's note. With a service dog, there's that little challenge there.
I mean, legally they can't.
Legally
right?
they can't.
Yeah.
So
that's my point.
and that's the biggest challenge, and I think that's
So if I
probably the
really want to
argument
live in
with-
this apartment complex with my therapy dog, you just give him an immediate upgrade and say it's a service dog and
'cause
done.
as of-
and it's nothing more than a
Yeah.
quick Google search, enter your credit card number, and
$69.
I've got a letter.
Because
Yeah,
as of
exactly.
right now, if you were to bring Duke into Walmart and somebody stops you and says you're not allowed to have your pet
I
in
would say,
here,
yeah, he's my service dog, and he performs tasks that helps get through me in my daily life. And they're gonna say, "Fuck, all
legally
right."
they can't say shit.
Yeah, and I wrote an article in a magazine like called the Service Dog Specialty, and it specifically talks about that, where unless even if the dog is misbehaving, you can't automatically say that person, oh, that's not a real service dog, because you don't know if that person's disabled. I mean, the way the law is written, if the person is disabled, is legally diagnosed with a disability and has a prescription from a doctor saying this person needs a service dog to be able to survive. You marry those two things together, and they could pretty much, you can't argue it unless you're sitting in front of a judge.
Well, I thought according to ADA is if they're causing a disruption to the place they're at.
If you read the fine print, they're supposed to provide services without the dog. So even if they say, okay, your dog peed on the floor, oh, sir, you can't bring that. Sorry, you've got to leave because your dog, had an accident, and legally they can ask you to leave, but they're also required to offer you services without the dog. So, if you read into it, if you wanted to be, that person, it could be sitting out in front of the building talking about like, hey, bring me 3 different kinds of soap. What are the prices on them?
Yeah.
They've still got to, if they're denying you access with your dog, say.
They have
I've
to
kind of
extend it.
equated to like say somebody
Like we'll
rolled
bring
up,
your waffles out to you.
yeah,
This
or say
shit
somebody
is
in a wheelchair
fucked up.
showed up and had mud all over their wheelchair, like, sir, you can't bring it out here. We have $8,000 rugs on here, and be like, well, you can't deny me because I'm in a wheelchair. Like, that's the difference. Is your wheelchair is going to destroy our building.
Yeah. So we'll bring you the number 6.
Exactly. So when a dog makes a mistake or has an accident or even causes a disruption, that is the same thing with a police officer looking at. It's a disruption of the peace. The dog is a health hazard or a safety hazard.
Yeah.
If they're
I just don't understand why they can't make a very simple standard like national certification test.
because nobody can agree. I've been. with
That's why I said
enough-
put me the fucking charge,
Yeah.
and I'll give you the world's best trainers at one table, and then
Could-
we'll go from there.
Okay, so
Couldn't
better
you-
up with July 23rd through 25th Service Dog Conference here in DC.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
in.
I saw that.
I'm in.
I saw that.
Go
A few
to
of my trainers went there last
Service
year.
Dogs, the number 4 vets.org/conference.
I'm in.
There you go.
I mean, why couldn't tell me why they couldn't take like the TDI, the Therapy Dog International test, and say your dog has to show this plus 2 or more tasks that support the owner in the daily life. Because essentially, if you really think about it, wouldn't that pretty much be what a service dog is? A therapy dog, so all the same training.
Then you're going to have TDI's competition, or not. They're a nonprofit. I shouldn't say competition. Other nonprofits like TDI who do the exact same thing, they're going to be like, well, why the fuck not us?
Well, that's what
now they got to answer that.
Well, because you hear with any veteran who's worked with the VA, like especially 4 or 5 years ago, you would always hear, "Oh, is your dog ADI certified? Is your dog ADI accredited? The organization you got the dog, is he ADI accredited?" That's the portion of what the PAWS Act was adding in there, was eliminating just ADI organizations through the VA.
Yeah.
In the DoD instruction and the Army directive for service dogs, it specifically labels in there or similar organizations. I think in the Army directive I said
so they took away the monopoly.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why there's
damn it.
Yeah, and that's why there's been a lot of ruckus in the service dog world, because now it's a fight for what word is going to count.
See, I feel like it would just be super simple to create a standardized test. If you said, Nick White, give us a standardized test right in the next 10 minutes for service dog, I would say that you got to demonstrate basic obedience with extreme high-level distractions, and they have to show 2 or more tasks they provide for the owner. Done. There's your national certification test.
My speaking engagement during the conference is specifically that, the ADA questionnaire and testing, and it literally labels, hey, I could give you the test and say, hey, you've got this handler you're meeting, he's
and then it doesn't matter if it's owner trained.
Exactly. It's no different than if you're a CGC evaluator for AKC.
It doesn't matter if it's owner trained.
You only need a year of I've watched dogs, I've trained
they perform the tasks or they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if you trained them, we trained them, or the owner trained them themselves.
And it's almost set up in 3. The way the test is, it's set up into 3 parts. It's literally, hey, the dog can perform what would be equivalent of a public access test, and saying the dog is officially can be labeled a service dog in training. Yeah. And then from there, it's okay. Now we do the kind of a combination of a public access test with advanced obedience, and in an actual public environment, right? And the third phase is almost like a questionnaire for the handler. Is the if you've ever done look at the back of the or AKC's owner responsibility checklist, right? It's almost like that. I'm responsible. You're responsible that your dog maintains, eligibility as a service dog. Because if he bites somebody, he's no longer eligible. There's literally
grooming standards.
Yeah, exactly. The dog is not. He can get around on his own volition. He's not being carried in your purse. He's not, so obese that you have to drag him behind you on a red rider. I mean, the videos are everywhere of all kinds of people. Not saying break the rules, but bending it just because I don't want to go anywhere without my dog.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's another side of that. If your dog...
Those are the assholes that mess it up for everyone.
But they outweigh the real service dogs. That's my point.
I would say they do.
And
I wrote a blog
I'm salty
5 years ago in 2013, actually, called Fake Service Dogs of America. And I talk about the growing epidemic then, and that was 5 years ago, and now I feel like it's way worse now than it was when I wrote the article.
I'm super salty about this. I really am. This is a topic that just about dogs that just bugs the absolute shit out of me, because I'm like, as you said, I don't think it's that difficult to put down a firm policy, law, whatever you want to call
Basic
it.
obedience, high-level distractions, show us 2 or more
but
commands.
The longer,
done. That's simple.
and that's all the test is.
Yeah.
That's the
longer they wait to do something, is the more the chance rises to shit can the entire thing.
I would test them. Like, you just have, just like a TDI or just like any of these other organizations, you get certified trainers and evaluators. So they're in all major cities all throughout the U.S. And then we meet the team in downtown D.C., somewhere like that, high-level, extreme high-level noise, all these distractions, and say, all right, show me a heel. All right, down him, leave him there for the next 5 minutes. All right, tell him to come, tell him to sit.
I always say, too, like, not to call out, like, certain types of training styles, but, the dog has to be a willing participant. Breed aside, the dog that looks like he's about to come unhinged, that spooky, that dog, it's like Like
Yeah.
he's prong collar trained, or he's e-collar trained, or choke trained, or whatever it is. Or I've done IPO with him, so the dog
Sure.
is on point. The problem is he doesn't look like a willing participant.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's relaxed and comfortable. He looks controlled. But he look like he's going to be obtrusive at any point in time. But it's all about education. If I saw someone out and I saw, they look like they have a service dog, they look like their dog is well behaved, in a short conversation you can eliminate, say, hey, hey, your dog's, say the dog is sniffing somebody, or at the end of the leash, or is attached to the buggy and is pulling whatever.
Yeah.
Those things are nice standouts, but. The challenge we run into is you see that, whoever, their dog is well behaved, their dog's doing a perfect, heel or sit, stay, down, stay, whatever it is, and the person doesn't look disabled, and that's where the challenge comes. Because, oh, you don't look disabled. Well,
Yeah, it's
I
like,
didn't
how
know
do you
I didn't know
judge
you were a
that?
doctor. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't know you were a dog trainer. How do you know it's not a service dog? Because
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it. If it says, well, you don't just look disabled. Well, like, well, you don't look like a doctor.
And
Yeah.
see, I
I'd
think,
be like, well, you look like an asshole.
I think the
Yeah.
I think the problem is with what you just said, though, how you're like, okay, well, I'll be a tester. or
yeah, just
whatever.
like therapy dogs or
The problem with
whoever.
that, though, is because then you're going to have PetSmart trainers hitting you up or hitting them up going, why is this fucking asshole a certifier, yet I'm not?
Well,
So-
they just have to have an application process,
Well,
like
you had to
something
worry
else
about
to
that because
demonstrate you've trained at least 500 plus hours of training, or
But-
whatever. You put a restriction on the evaluators.
yeah,
just like a
you'd
lot
have
of,
to do something like that.
Yeah, you've had to at least been a trainer for 3 years. You have to be
Yeah, I
a
like that.
CGC certified trainer. You have to at least show over 500 hours of training experience, and just put that on, and only people that meet those can apply.
Okay.
And then I would even go as far, and I can say this as a trainer, I would even go as far to say the evaluation, meaning you're bringing your dog in to be evaluated to be a national certified service dog. I would even go as far to say the evaluation's free. So these people with disabilities who are living on disability,
Yeah, absolutely.
it doesn't even cost them anything. It's you come in, we'll do the eval for free, because it would take 30 minutes max. And then it doesn't cost anyone anything. So those self-trained handlers, it still doesn't cost them anything. So they never pay for anything, whether it's military, disability, whatever it is. So
And if you can get your dog to pass,
yeah, if you pass,
you're a
you're
service dog.
certified, done.
and with the
Yeah.
doctor's note, accompanied with the
and
doctor's
and
note.
that's
Yeah.
the trick is if you don't have a doctor's note, and we do vetting with the association, organizations and businesses that will apply for membership to the association, and that's two of the big hiccups are not being financially transparent, specifically if you're charging people for dogs. There's a couple organizations. There's one specifically here in Virginia that is always on the radar. It's always got red flags. They literally, I think the Northup just signed some kind of what's it called?
Contract.
No, a warrant, not a warrant, a indictment about he's produced supposedly this organization has produced 100 and something service dogs.
Is it
and-
retrievers by chance?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's and there's like 80 different people who have
Warren
complained.
retrievers.
Yeah, and so that's the challenge.
What'd you say?
And-
I said Warren retrievers.
yeah, but he's changed his names a couple of times.
Shout
too.
out to Warren.
Yeah, shout out to Warren retrievers, you
the
asshole.
one
This
thing
story's
that-
about you.
But the one thing that when we're doing vetting on these organizations, they're either not transparent about how they're training the dogs, the actual, the handler that's getting this dog. And one thing that's a big red flag for me is just that doctor's note. We interviewed an organization that claimed to have done like almost 1,000 service dogs in like 6 years. I'm the largest provider, and does not even require a doctor's note. Right?
But
That's
the-
the first step.
Yeah.
The problem with, and you mentioned this earlier, the problem with the doctor's note thing is HIPAA laws. So what if instead of a doctor's
Well, it doesn't
note,
have to say what the issue is, though. It
Oh,
just says
right.
this person is prescribed a service.
but why
dog.
not make it standardized, right? We're going to make everything else standardized. Why not make a card,
That's what we
a,
provide.
a license,
Just a card.
essentially,
Yep. So-
that only the doctor can sign and only the doctor can give out?
And that's where I am, on board with a national certification, or at least a national standard that requires New York, and I know North Carolina, but I believe there's 2 other states that they provide an actual register your dog with the state, just like when you take your dog to get a rabies shot. You'll get a letter in the mail if you haven't registered your dog in the county, especially in Prince William County. You'll get a letter in the mail. You owe us $15 or whatever it is.
Joe's like you do.
Yeah. If you,
I knew that.
but I've had to sign letters for veterans in North Carolina that is a state form, and it says the dog has. This is the type of service dog he is. The dog performs these. It doesn't really go into anything that's HIPAA related.
Yeah.
But it says, hey, and it's kind of, I think the legality to it is they're looking for outside verification. Yes, this person says it's a service dog. Yes, the dog appears to be well behaved, but we've got this organization that's completely, removed from her personal life that says
can vouch for it.
Yeah.
Independent, arbitrary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's,
and that's what I mean with the standardized testing. You have an independent trainer that really doesn't give a shit if your dog's great or not because they didn't train them. They're saying, yeah, this dog's good.
And that's what we do during. This is the second service dog conference that we've had through the association, and last year we had a bunch of really good speakers, but it gave us the opportunity to, bring up and collectively come together and say, okay, here's the challenges organizations are having. Here's the challenges that the handlers, the veterans are having getting dogs, and how do we curb these problems? How do we fix them? And we came together, and we'll do it again this year in July. And I definitely, you guys.
I'd really like to go. I really would.
I love going just because it's a learning experience. Last year we had a couple of VA caseworkers, and we had a couple of speakers who, are talking about the changes that are going in Veterans Administration. Changes that are coming down. The addition of that psychiatric alert dog. Dogs that are, it's accepted. Verbally, it's accepted now that just because you have PTSD doesn't mean you're gonna run around and kill everybody. That you're not allowed to have a gun. You shouldn't be driving. Here, take all these medications so you're gonna be doped up. So the continuity is what's the problem. Across the country, whether that person's going to that doctor in Oregon or here.
Yeah.
So I actually just got my hands on the VA's policy on service dogs, and I haven't read all of it yet. But I think it does a pretty good job. That what I have, the beginning portion that I have read, because it's very confusing. Parts of it are, but it does a good job of saying, okay, clearly outlined, just like the standards for the association are. The dog can do this, but instead of being that vagueness the ADA asks, the question you can ask somebody, is it a service dog? You're asking for that credible verbal reassurance that you're actively saying this is my service dog, as well as the things that you can challenge that person with. Okay, so if he's your service dog, why is he barking at people? If they can't answer that question, just like my testing goes, if you can't answer that question, well, he's barking this way because there's a person over there that's making noises at him, or maybe
he's alerting on my high blood sugar.
Yeah, exactly. The common challenge that I get with people who have owner trained dogs, or they come from an organization, is what has your doctor told you need help with your disability? And that's not necessarily what the doctor's remote's supposed to do. We always preach, what's your treatment plan? Okay, you're missing a leg. I get that. Yes, obviously I can easily say, a service dog would help you with balance, but does your doctor agree with you? If your doctor says, no, actually his physical therapy, because he's a below the knee amputee, it's, if he's relying on a dog, it's going to cause hip, problems. He's liable to, start throwing off his back and things like that, because that's not the way the prosthetic works. That's where that doctor's note, kind of adds a legitimacy to it, from an organization standpoint. I don't, trying to call a doctor and say, okay, this veteran, you've been working with him for, 9 months now. You say that he's got antisocial disorder. What does that mean for a service dog? He's not a dog trainer. He's not even going to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the biggest problems, I feel like, is the lack of knowledge, I have a question for both of you. When you see a fake service dog out in town and you legitimately know it's fake, like dog is lunging at you while you're walking through Walmart, that happened to me.
Starbucks.
Or in the VA, it happens notoriously in the hospital.
I'm sure. Do you guys call them out?
No, I've never said anything to anyone.
No.
No.
I don't think it's. It's not my job.
The worst thing I've ever done was I had my oldest son, I think he was like 12 at the time. I gave him my business card. Said, "Hey, go tell that gentleman that I'll be willing to help," because he looked like a veteran. He was like a Vietnam era type guy, and his dog was tethered to the front of his buggy, and it was a pit bull. You know, had that generic orange and black vest that you see all over the place, and he looked lost. You know, and the dog was kind of just doing his thing. He wasn't aggressive or anything. He was just kind of like, I'm used to being at the end of the leash, and that's, you know,
just dragging him around.
You know, and I actually ran into that gentleman probably 6 months ago, and I didn't recognize him, but he's like, "Yeah, your son came and gave me a card one day," and I was like, "Oh, how's the dog doing?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't take him out anywhere anymore." And I was like, "Well, why not?" And he's like, "Well, I did some research, and you know, looking at your card, and I realized that technically he's not a service dog.
His service dog's out of service."
Yeah, technically he was like, because you know, the dog, you know, it doesn't matter how much I need a dog, a service dog, this dog can't perform what I've you know, researched how they've educated themselves, and that's what I love about the PAWS Act and the association, is that ability to, hey, you know, it's written in black and white right here. You know, this is, your dog needs 240 hours of training. You know, that's 120 of just public access, give or take 60 hours with their handler and 60 hours of task training. You know, it's those are easy numbers to fudge. You know, it's not a big deal. It's all going to come down to when the dog is out in public, you know, and someone, you know,
being obvious.
Yeah, it's not obvious. The dog is controllable and unobtrusive, and if that's the case, then you know, you need to fall along the lines of, you know, I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose this person. It doesn't matter if he looks disabled.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And the worst thing I could do is call him out, you know, not knowing, because now I could send that person into a
make
spiral.
it more traumatic experience.
I mean, I had one of the very first service dogs I worked with under Semper K9 was a German Shepherd, you know, that was trained by another organization and provided for, and the dog was really good. She was definitely eligible for a service dog and would have really benefited for a service dog. Problem is, she should have got a different dog. So she got, it wasn't say the dog forced on her, but you know, looking in hindsight from their situation, you know, I could have said, you know, I would have switched the breed. You know, instead of a German Shepherd, giving you just a lazy black lab would have done you 100 times better. But that's just not looking at a treatment plan. The doctor may have said, no, she's got severe antisocial disorder, and you know, she needs a German Shepherd to, you know, keep her motivated and keep her out there. If I give her a lazy golden or a lazy lab, then she's liable to, you know,
crumble away together.
Yeah, exactly. Or, you know, gain 500, you know, gain 50 pounds, and you know, and body starts falling apart, stop taking her medications, things like that. So, you know, you have to be careful of, you know, dogs that are enabling behavior, especially with mental health challenges. And that's probably the thing that I'm really interested in bringing up at the conference this year, is those enabled behaviors. You know, sometimes, you know, that emotional support dog that's, you know, providing that additional comfort, you know, they don't assist the person with their disability directly. Literally, they're just making them comfortable.
Correct.
They're almost just a placebo. You know,
it's like the blankie.
The original argument with emotional support dogs is, I think we can completely get rid of them, right? Just by saying, okay, you know, an emotional support dog just is a service dog in training that needs a little bit extra training. And how does this dog specifically related to your disability? You know, if you have generalized anxiety disorder and that dog can travel with you and is well behaved enough to navigate the public with you, and his task is to jump into your lap to provide you comfort, that would be a task.
I definitely think, and I know that a lot of people don't agree with me, really don't care, but I definitely think that the emotional service or emotional support dogs need to go. They need to get rid of that title, I think.
We definitely would eliminate majority of the challenges that service dogs run into.
Or just put a standard behind it, right? So call an emotional support dog in the category of either therapy dogs or in the category of service dogs.
Yeah.
Don't have this in the middle type thing where absolutely zero training is required to call your dog an ESD.
Well, I feel like it's just like I always look at an emotional support dog as just a personal therapy dog. Yeah. If you think about what a therapy dog does, it's to provide comfort, and when you're testifying in courtroom, the kid or person that's
you
nervous,
be careful too, because
they
I
pet the
consider
dog
that a comfort crisis dog, not an actual therapy dog.
Yeah.
Because a therapy dog, is a dog that's essentially a service dog, but for other people.
Yeah.
So like when I say of a therapy dog, when I did my internship, when I worked with therapy dogs, I was working with disabled children with developmental delays and disabilities, and the dog literally was trained to walk that kid upstairs, and essentially pass a ball back and forth. The dog actively did something. Versus,
So did a task.
Yeah, versus a comfort crisis dog, which is an emotional support dog for other people. So it's both sides of the same fence.
But what's the difference between a comfort crisis dog and a therapy dog?
A therapy dog actively does something.
Well, not necessarily. When you're reading a book to a group of kids, and
if I was to say, okay, what's the difference between a therapy dog and a comfort crisis dog? Is a therapy dog is certified through either Pet Partners or Therapy Dogs International. The dog is insured, and is accredited through an organization or a governing body, if you will, which is what ADI is. I've always said, Assistance Dog International, you're a governing body. You don't even provide dogs.
You're a governing body, not of the government.
Yeah, exactly. But you're literally saying, okay, I want you, we're going to create these standards and we're going to make sure everybody
and
does
you
it.
don't actually do them.
It's literally no different than the AKC saying, a German Shepherd can't weigh more than 88 pounds. Right,
Yeah.
or he's not within breed standards. He's not show.
It's like you're not a
It's
German
like,
Shepherd breeder.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, just because you say it doesn't mean physically or biologically he's not a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the problem. With. Well, here's a good question. Do you think if we got rid of saying, okay, service dogs don't have to be labeled, they don't have to wear a vest. If we got rid of that and said, if he's a service dog, he has to have a vest.
I think
it has to have a color, say a color
Yeah.
theme on it, and it should be labeled service dog.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely. 100%.
If we said that, along with, okay, if you're going to utilize your emotional support animal, he has to be legally placarded, same way a service dog. Would that eliminate the?
No.
They wouldn't eliminate.
No,
the
just
I
because
don't
I
think it would
just
eliminate
because
it.
in my opinion,
Now I just buy the $69 harness that I didn't have to buy before and put it on my dog.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening now. That's
Yeah.
the problem. In my opinion, an emotional support dog isn't really anything. I get why it's there, but my point is
It's a dog that you can pet.
you can literally go to Photoshop right now or whatever, Word document, type up a quick certification yourself for your dog
You don't even have to have
as an emotion. Yeah,
certification.
fuck, you don't even have to have a fucking certification.
So the
quit.
challenge, the challenge there, I think, is trying to differentiate between mental health service dogs and emotional support dogs. If I was a mental health expert and I said, okay, I've got two different people. I got patient A, patient B. This person has generalized anxiety disorder, and this person has post-traumatic stress. Both of them are essentially their brains are not providing enough dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and whatever host of other chemicals that we take for granted to be able to get through
Make up happiness.
to make up our day. This person has this disability. They need the same chemical reaction in their brain. This person has this disability, but I'm only going to prescribe an emotional support animal to you versus you. I'm going to prescribe a psychiatric service dog.
See,
what's the difference?
but in my opinion, here's the difference is, and I think this is one of the biggest problems with our country with mental illness is that it's almost like as society we have labeled mental illness to not be as important as physical illness. So fucking make it a service dog, because in my opinion, mental illness is just as important as physical illness. So why should it be labeled anything different? Put it in the same category. You're sick, you're sick.
So
right?
could we get rid of performs tasks or abilities directly related to
Yeah.
that person's disability? So if we got rid of that, then all emotional support animals are service dogs.
You get rid of it for the emotional
Yeah.
disabled, the mentally disabled.
You mean they don't have to perform any
No.
tasks other than basic obedience with high level distraction?
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely,
and that's still
absolutely. And that's still a
navigating the public.
task, I
Yeah,
think.
I do. I still consider navigating the
But
public
yeah, I
as
mean,
the
they don't
primary
have the
task.
same requirements as a physical one because they don't need it. But
So-
it doesn't mean it's less fucking important. You know what I mean?
So if we just created, training standards, the challenge is, you're going to eliminate certain dogs.
Why? I mean, what dogs couldn't perform basic obedience with high level distractions?
Well, imagine. Okay, so say the handler, has a secondary disability. So it's not, not just mental health. Say they're missing a leg. Say they're, have a bad back, have degenerative disc or whatever it is, and the doctor said, okay, I'm gonna give you you're gonna prescribe an emotional support animal. They can get a small dog way faster than they could a larger dog. So a lot of times I would think most people are looking for that quick fix. They're gonna take the easy route and get that small dog, and now, later on down the road, that dog can't perform large tasks for him, or he's not physically able to do more stuff. Is that technically still a service dog, because now his disability is not even helped by this dog, because he only helps his mental challenge, not his physical challenge.
So you're saying someone that has mental and physical.
Well, that's why I coined that term mental health mobility dog, because it's kind of an over-encompassing specialty specifically to veterans. Some of them, have physical limitations, and some of them have those mental challenges. Either way, they can't get out in public.
I just feel like by giving those guys a new label tells them that you're
not quite as important.
Yeah, we feel bad for you that you have severe PTSD,
but not
from
bad
combat,
enough.
but not bad enough to put you in the service dog column.
Yeah.
Or not bad enough to whatever.
Not bad enough to let you in hotels.
And I did an interview, and I said the exact same thing, and I kind of expected backlash. When I talked about the changes in the last 7 or 8 years between anxiety being an ailment, being a challenge with a certain disability versus it actually having its own category, generalized anxiety disorder, and the doctors not knowing how to help this person. Canines for Warriors with Purdue University did a study. It was partially self-reported data, but they were doing swabs looking for cortisol spikes within these handlers prior to showing up to the campus, like the day before they actually got their dog, and then progressively through the period of them getting their dog. And through that, look at the cortisol changes, through their metabolism and through their saliva, as well as that self-reported data to say, hey, there's I think it was a 75%, 75% improvement in their daily functions, being able to literally get out the door and go to work, versus calling in sick because my medication hasn't kicked in yet. I know I'm a little late for traffic, and that's it. I'm not going to work today. So yeah, I think if you got rid of I definitely get rid of emotional support animal. It's either a dog, or in certain situations, a miniature horse. Have you ever actually seen a service horse?
I have not. I feel like I'd have to assume they were full of shit if I did, though.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I know there's an organization somewhere in Virginia, but I hear it, and I know the legislation popped up, but I've never seen one.
Well, no one better call me out on it when I go into Walmart with my service Clydesdale.
No, I think it's maxed out like 30.
I'm gonna ride it in.
Make sure you get a bucket on the back.
Mobile support. So. No, I again, man. To me, and I think to Nick as well, and it sounds like to you. To me, a lot of this shit is common sense, and that's why it's so frustrating, because a lot of these fixes,
national standardized tests,
are just
done.
Literally common sense. And then for me personally, I think one of the biggest issues with service dogs, I'm not even going to go the animal route, with service dogs, and the problem with our country again, is that they put the mental illness in a separate category to where they're not as bad as somebody who is missing a leg or something. And I think that's bullshit. That's fucked up.
I would say a lot of times they're probably worse, actually.
I agree 100%.
Well, I think it's changed a lot in the last couple of years. There's studies directly related to post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury that have, definitely done a better job of helping us understand, the challenges that every individual veteran goes. But it really brings up the question of, they're not educating themselves. If their dog's misbehaving, their doctor might have prescribed them this service dog, but that's all the doctor's going to do. I joke around and say, I'm a pharmacist. If you came beating on my door and said, I need a service dog because ADA, I'm disabled, and ADA says I get a service dog. Like, okay, if I was a pharmacist and you showed up and said, yo, I need, codeine, or I need I don't know any drugs.
Vicodin. Vicodins.
I need Vicodin because I'm in pain. Well, the pharmacist is like, oh, you look pretty good, So, as from an organization standpoint, we always rely on that, that diagnosis. So the disabilities or the understanding of mental health has definitely increased a lot, but the challenge is, if a person has a service dog, they already have a disability. So there's automatically that initial challenge, with being able to, educate them, to be able to teach them, for them to learn in a matter that's, helpful to them as well as to the places that they visit. But it really comes down to just talking to your doctor. I say that
agreed.
over and over and over and over and over. If your doctor doesn't know why you have a service dog, then you need another doctor. All right. If your dog trainer doesn't know what your doctor needs from or what you need from to be able to alleviate your challenges with your disability, then you need another dog trainer. And if your dog is not directly helping you, is not creating more problems. If he's barking, he's whining, peeing, and pooping all over the place,
Dragging you down the street.
he's creating anxiety. I don't care if you're missing a leg or not. Hey, I don't need a dog that is well behaved because I'm just missing a leg. I don't have a mental health challenge. No, it doesn't quite work that way. So
I got to tell you though, I am stoked that you're working with the politicians to. I was man, that's really awesome because somebody needs to do something. You know what I mean? Like you're a nonprofit organization. You and other nonprofit, you guys are the best ones to do this. You know what I mean? Because you're getting all of your training for these servicemen and women through donations, right?
Yeah. So when my wife and I first founded the organization, it came from that Marine Corps, background, and I joked around that. When I took a lot from the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps gave me a lot. It taught me how to, talk in challenging situations, adapting, overcome, as you guys well know, and it gave me the opportunity to understand understand veterans and the challenges they deal with when they're transitioning out, they're coming back from deployments, going through divorce, new babies, change careers, all that stuff. It kind of gets to you. So, when we started, the two big rules that we wanted to stick were that they need to be free, regardless if the VA is going to fund it, regardless if I always say when I've had donors, prospective donors that have tried to buy my loyalty, specifically because they're like, well, I'm going to give you $20,000, like, well, that's one dog. I was like, I literally create, as dog trainers, we create wealth out of thin air. I take a dog from the shelter that had zero value and spend 10 or 12 grand worth of training into them, and then I can hand that off to a veteran. It's no different than if I was an engineer and I created this super awesome wheelchair for this for this disabled individual. If I make one tweak to it that doesn't work for their lifestyle, then I've kind of defeated the purpose. So if that person a dog is an organic variable. Training never stops. It's a breed has a lot to do with it, but it really comes down to just educating yourself and knowing this is what I need in 10 years. I've got degenerative disc and I'm going to be in a wheelchair in 10 years. Can I make that 12 years?
So education.
Yeah.
Education. If you want a service dog, find a reputable company. Obviously, if you're a veteran, look up somebody like Chris.
Put it in charge of the professionals. You have
to. You have to in order to keep it or get it back to going smoothly. I guess this is again a topic that fucking drives me absolutely apeshit because to me it's simple, to you it's simple, apparently the politicians, it's either A, they don't think it's simple, or B, they simply don't give a shit. It's really that simple. I mean, think about it, Chris. I mean, I know you are working with a few politicians right now, right?
Yep.
And I know that you probably think very highly of them because they're helping you and assisting you guys with this bill and everything. Here's my argument. Why the fuck didn't they do this on their own 25 years ago?
Too
Bigger
many people
priorities.
to make happy. Yeah, there's too many people to make happy. I mean,
I get that.
and
I
we
get
could-
that, but this is extremely important. I mean, these dogs are saving lives.
if we dissect it, the problem was if you change even the wording in ADA. You know, say we, you know, even with the association, you know, our standards are
300 million people.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
even, you know, and I'm being more specific to, you know, here I'm providing service dogs to veterans and to veterans' families members, you know, and it's almost predominantly, you know, mental health, physical challenges, you know, it's a whole host of different things, but, you know, our mission is to enhance their quality of life. So we're looking, how do I put a dog into your situation that's going to make it better, not going to create just more work for you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, you know, some businesses, you know, like I said, we're a nonprofit, you know, we're doing this. The association, the other part of the importance of the association is that, you know, physical and financial transparency. You know, we're not having, you know, lavish parties. You know, our board had a meeting this evening, and it was, you know, Pokey Bake. You know, it was Little Debbie's and donuts and, you know, things like that around, you know, just to talk. But, you know, it's the challenge is, you know, not every veteran or not every disabled person is a veteran.
Yeah.
You know,
and I get that. I get that, but I mean, the emphasis of, I was speaking more so on the emphasis of your bill and the mental health.
Well, this is an inclusion of mental health. So
gotcha.
Gotcha. And that's where we have gotten some pretty strong bipartisan support. I think like we're only a couple of signatures away of streamlining it to the next level. So
and I am super stoked that you're a part of that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Try to be the voice. You know, these politicians, they you know, we're their constituents. You know, the same way goes for me. You know, I try to be an ambassador, to be an advocate as much as I can. So
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I want to, before we got to get out of here, I wanted to ask you about, we spent so much time on that, but I mean, it's a great fucking topic.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I wanted to ask you about the show that you were recently on. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, and for those who, you know, you guys know, Nick, of course, you know, gets to work with, you know, celebrities on a regular basis. You know, we're small. You know, we've done 30 dogs in 4 years now, you know, which is by means not anything, you know, extraordinary in the grand scale of things, but I get a lot of a lot of calls, a lot of, you know, interviews that I've done, you know, in the past, and I learned through this experience with the micro that you really can't trust anybody in the media. You know, they did so many things behind my back and brought, you know, had my board to tell me, hey, you can't go out there to the property for like 2 weeks because, you know, we've got work for you to do. But the experience really came along of just being surprised, because we had almost no clue that it was more than just a Facebook documentary on, hey, how does a service dog, you know, and they literally labeled it out where, how are you selecting puppies, which in the video you'll see, you know, doing just basic temperament tests and some Volhard stuff, just trying to figure out what dogs are good matches for what we're trying to train them for. And then working with the veterans, and then obviously the graduation portion of it. Well, they originally reached out to us to, hey, we want to just tell your story. You know,
Sure.
Just a 20-minute episode of, you know, what is Semper K9? You know, what do you guys do? So, you know, we kind of spent a better part of 9 months back and forth with several production companies, not knowing who we were actually working with. My wife joked around; she thought it was Ellen DeGeneres, and I pushed it off. I was like, no, I think it's literally just a Facebook documentary. But you fast forward 9 months into this whole process, and they show up, and, you know, there's cameras everywhere, and I'd gotten pretty used to this over time, but they were super, like, just hiding as much information. You know, they had the Secret Service, you know, earpieces, and you hear them talk. Oh, okay, good to go. You know, they were talking to each other, and so many different people that were in and out all day. And of course, we get that knock on the door. You know, we're just doing B-roll filming. At least we thought. You know, we're just B-roll filming, and very noticeable and recognizable booming hello. You know, from Micro when he stumbles in, and that's when I was kind of like, oh, now it literally all makes sense. And I even joked around that, you know, if I had known any better, I wouldn't have been like, you think we have a dirty job? That's the first thing I said. I was like, that's the first thing that popped in my head.
I'm going to clean up shit in kennels.
Yeah, I was like, well, because that's what some of the stuff they were filming was me cleaning up poop and just doing puppy stuff. But, I mean, it was a surreal experience. You know, he's a pretty cool guy. I mean, everything that comes out of his mouth is philosophical. You
Yeah,
know, he's like,
deep.
it's like he should be giving graduation speeches across the country.
It's like Cody.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like Cody Talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's and some of that stuff that I didn't get to see that he was talking on sidelines. Just goes to show that he's a very down to earth guy. I think he's a great example for just the working class.
That's
the
awesome.
down to earth people, and he's really really easy to talk to.
That's awesome,
Super,
man.
easily the one of the most simple people or easiest people I've been able to communicate.
That's awesome.
So how can they work? Where can everyone go to go watch that episode? Just YouTube, or is it on their?
So it's on our website as well.
Okay.
But it's specifically if you just go in your search bar in Facebook and type in "Returning the Favor," all the episodes are listed on there. It is a Facebook documentary.
Okay,
show.
cool.
So this is the wrap finishing up season 2. We were episode I think 23 of season 2, so they'll start another season. I'm assuming they'll start another season next year, but what's the bonus to that is they're specifically looking for organizations that are what they call bloody do-gooders. They're trying have niched out their little part of the world, whether it's Northern Virginia and providing service dogs for veterans, or
it's awesome.
lots
man.
of great stories in a good time, and they do take nominations, so you can actually go to Returning the Favor Effect Facebook group and nominate a local organization that you
Nice.
think
Very
would
cool.
benefit from it.
Very cool.
Lots of cool stories.
And what is your website? So everyone knows.
Our website is semperk9.org. Marine Corps background, Semper K9. So the joke goes, I had one of my handlers from the Marine Corps, had just finished his master's, and he called me. It was like, hey, you still doing the dog thing? And I thought it was like a joke. Because, dude, I'll always be K9. You can't.
Yeah.
Wild horses can't. I've tried to leave several times, and I always get dragged back to dog training. So, but semperk9.org. We're a nonprofit 501c3. All your donations are tax deductible. We are, when we first started, just producing as many dogs as I could pretty much train a year. But we boast over 140 volunteers now, and I have actively about 25 dog trainers and coaches. I call them canine coaches. They don't call themselves dog trainers, but they are training service dogs for veterans.
Awesome.
But the organization, we do between 10 and 20 dogs, and we're in the process of building a facility right next to Marine Corps Base Quantico, fully functioning dog training center.
Awesome.
Bringing veterans in, training them with their service dogs, and trying to produce as many as we physically can.
Nice.
Awesome.
But
And how else can everyone find you? Facebook.
we're on all kinds of social media. Everything's pretty much
Semper
hashtag
K9.
Semper K9.
Yep,
Yeah.
Semper K9. That's going to be your go-to to find Chris and his crew and what they do. Thank you so much, man, for number one being here, number
Yeah.
two doing what you're doing every day to help
awesome.
these veterans that need you. So that's super super cool of you. Real quick, somebody posted the link. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to name them. We're going to save it for the next episode if you want to talk about it. The dog breeds that were banned by United.
Oh, okay.
I'll just list them. American Bully, American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier,
It's
Belgian
amazing.
Malinois, Boston Terrier, Boxer,
Boston
every
Terrier?
bulldog that you can think of. Chow Chow.
Wait, some of those don't have short noses.
Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah. Well, on top of the fact that what if it's a mixed breed? Oh, this is a
All Mastiffs.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, there's another issue, Chris. That's a good point. All Mastiffs, including the Cane Corso.
So pretty much United is racist with dogs, is what you're saying.
I want to know where they got this list from.
Oh, they probably took it from some fucking apartment HOA.
Yeah, because it's
all pug, Shih Tzus, Staffies, Tibetan Spaniels.
So pretty much you can have a fucking lab, a golden retriever.
There you go.
yeah, yeah. pretty
So-
much.
Or a doodle.
So singled out.
So a
I
mix.
know- they didn't say German Shepherds on there. I don't think,
dangerous.
did they?
No, but they got Belgian Malinois. Why would they fucking single out that breed?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they don't have short snouts, so it's
And
anyhow.
that's,
We're gonna get on that. We're gonna.
So everyone knows United Airlines is racist.
yeah.
Just fly American.
Yeah, fly American or
Yeah,
Delta.
Fly American.
Fuck
It just-
United. I said it.
Yeah, and Delta. Yep.
For those that are still watching our live, we got a little special surprise for you. All right, Nick. We have somebody. You don't.
Oh yeah.
We have somebody in the
studio audience.
In the
Literally,
break
I've
room.
always wanted to say that.
We've never
And
had
our
a
studio audience.
We've never had a fucking studio audience, but we have somebody, a special guest that came down to hang out. Well, you want to bring him in? Let him.
Cody
say hi?
Talon, everyone.
Cody Talon, everyone. Bring him in. Cody, come in here, man. Come on, man. There's a mic for you. I don't have a chair, but there's a mic for you.
All he needs is one mic.
Yeah. What's up, man?
What's up? Snuck in here.
Awesome work.
Fucking walls falling apart.
Cody's in here 1 second, and he's ripping down our walls.
What's up, brother?
I was watching the documentary.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Here,
This
put
was
that up to you a little
Get the
bit.
mic.
This was a much needed episode. Service dogs.
It was, right?
Yeah. You can tell Joey's pissed off.
Yeah.
About
Thank you.
service dogs.
Joey
Man.
needs some CBD.
Yeah.
What if
Calm
do
down.
you have any CBD?
Yeah.
What have you been up to,
It's right
man?
here.
Man.
You've been all over the place, right?
Yeah, traveling. Training dogs. Yesterday, I got with this guy named Adam Burke, and he put a 19-month-old Malinois on me, 95 pounds. This animal, he put me down. It was pretty tough, man. So yeah, just working dogs, man.
Killing it.
And you're
Yeah.
in town for the whole weekend, right?
Yeah, I'm hanging out, man. I'm coming up here. Retreat. Got the family. Got Dez and the kids.
Yes.
We're gonna see cousin Tyler, and yeah.
Killing it. Gonna have a fun weekend.
Yeah, maybe go float, go get in the.
Yeah, that's a funny topic really quick.
Yeah.
If no one's done it, Cody and I, he was here, I don't know, staying with me like a few weeks ago, and we did the float tank, the
Yeah,
deprivation tank.
You got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Everybody's got to do it.
If you guys haven't done
on
the
dog show,
deprivation
go
tank,
do it.
yeah, it's pretty much, if you guys aren't familiar with it. Are you familiar with the deprivation tank?
I saw your post on Facebook.
Yeah, so it's pretty much you
of
get
athletes
inside
do
this
it.
tank. It's pitch black once you shut the
It
door,
looked
so
terrifying,
you can't see
actually.
anything and
It
you
is.
can't
It's
hear
a coffin.
anything. So it's a tank you can't see and you can't hear, and it's the water in there. It's only like a maybe 2 foot deep water, but the water in there has a high level of salt content. Well, to put in perspective, he told me in one float tank they put 15 50-pound bags of Epsom salt. So you get in this tank, you can't see, you can't hear anything, and because of the high salt content,
buoyant.
you completely. It's weird though. It's hard to
How
it's
deep
hard to
is it?
see, like 2 foot deep.
Okay. It's
like a
But you
bathtub.
can completely relax, like 100% relax, and
You
you,
never-
float.
You never felt claustrophobic?
No.
How about you?
You've got to accept it. So,
Yeah, you just
so
take
it's
it.
it's all new. Everything is new. It's a whole new experience. So, but you have to accept it. The quicker you accept it, then you actually go into this
Like a
it's a
trance-like
metaphysical
state.
thing. Like so,
Like a meditation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
because you start thinking
Yeah,
deep
absolutely,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you just start thinking deep stuff because you can't see, you can't hear, and you're floating. You're
Yeah.
100% relaxed, which it sounds like, oh, that's kind of cool. But if you think about it, there's never a point in your life ever where you've been 100% relaxed with zero pressure. Like right now, you have pressure on your butt, you have pressure on your legs. When you're laying in your bed,
Sure.
you feel the bed
Just the
on your
ambient
head.
sound, yeah.
Yeah, you feel
So
the
it's like
bed on your
zero
head.
gravity,
Yeah, so imagine
essentially.
if you literally just floated right here and completely
what's the name
relaxed.
of that
So it's like
place?
being like dead.
What was it? Float.
I don't remember. It's in Ashton.
He doesn't remember because they
Float?
don't
Yeah.
sponsor the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Such a
Nick's like,
memorable
well, weird. I
experience.
really don't remember the name.
I had such a great time.
and
Don't
Oh,
they
that's
had a
right.
They had a greyhound. Their greyhound
Was
ran
a
up
therapy
to Nick,
dog.
Oh, yeah?
started like doing routines and stuff. They started walking around.
And me and Cody walked in, and the
was
guy, I'm like, oh, look, they
everywhere
got
we
a
go.
dog here. And the guy walks out. He's like, oh, my God, you're Nick White, the owner of Off Leash K9. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, one of your trainers trained this dog as our therapy dog like 2 years ago.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So he's the owner of the float tank thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend
float
doing the
tank
float tank.
Yeah.
We're actually going to do it again this weekend.
How much does something like that cost?
It was 90 minutes, which is weird. No, this is the weird thing. Cody, tell
There's
him.
no way. I would thought you 9 minutes.
Bro,
No.
Is there a no
you
shit
love
button
it.
to get
You
out?
will- you will.
Oh, you just open
Yeah.
the fucking door.
Or a safe word.
Dude, it's
safe
two-
words like
it's-
banana nut bread.
It's 2 feet of water. Like, you're not, like, you just open the door and walk out.
It is
90 minutes, though?
it's
No,
90
dude,
minutes,
90
but,
minutes
like,
is not
You're gonna
enough.
wish you had more.
You're gonna
It's
wish you had
it's
more.
So how
come
much
back
is
on
90
you.
minutes?
Also, 90 minutes, I want to say it was like $70.
Oh, that's it? Oh,
Yeah, it's It's not
well,
bad.
I mean, they're just locking
Dude,
you in a
Cody
closet
and I
for a-
both agreed we
That
came
doesn't
out.
sound revolutionary for fucking $70.
We came
That's not
out-
even
I'm
a
telling
dollar
you,
a minute,
I
bro.
was reset. I slept so much better
Yeah,
at night.
it's a game changer.
When we got out, we were walking different. I mean, like we felt like you feel. Light.
You feel, yeah. Remember, I told him, I'm like, dude, I feel so
It was
light
so
right
weird.
now.
We were like walking around. And people are looking
Hold
at us,
on.
and we're like,
Hold
we
on.
didn't care.
Well, you bought a new pair of Nikes 3 years ago, and
was
you
salt in the
literally
water.
were telling me that you were floating while you were
I-
walking on the
Well,
street.
that's the effect that the
so
the
you
float
telling
tank
me
has.
that you
Moonwalking out of that.
Dude, we both
deprivation
agreed
tank.
90 minutes wasn't enough. Like, it went by so quick just because you have no perception of anything.
Is you there by yourself or?
No, you're in the tank by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had our own tanks.
But there's no ocean.
So it's kind of like the future where
safe
I'm in a
word.
tank and then Cody's in a tank
I'm betting,
next
like,
to
I know.
Southeast
Is there a-
Asia
dude,
should pay
so
us for
fucking
that.
weird.
Is there a
man.
safe
Feel
word? You
yourself
go,
talking
you
to
get up and
yourself
walk out.
Absolutely.
Like,
One
No,
right
that's
now,
weird,
you go
man.
Right up in there.
Just having a
Yeah.
conversation.
dude, there's no
Yeah.
safe word because you just walk
Yeah.
out. Like, are you gonna drown in 1.5 2 feet of water? Like, dude, there's a
like a
door.
90
there's a
minute
door.
ayahuasca retreat.
Here, I would say, imagine a shower with a bathtub with a door. If you don't want to do it anymore, you just open the door and walk out.
Okay.
Like, you guys are in there like screaming and like calling 911. The guy's like, just walk out.
Yeah, you
Wait,
go-
Jigsaw hasn't given my puzzle yet. How do I get out of this thing?
He's like, you open the door
You'll
and
go-
walk
you'll go
out.
Inside your own head. And
Yeah, you get
meditate,
deep thoughts. It's
yeah.
pretty weird. I've never
Yeah.
been in a place like that before. Like,
Yeah.
you
Is
get
there,
super.
there's no preparation. You walk in. There's no like,
It's
hey, you
all-
gotta do a
it's all
sauna.
Like,
You
it's
gotta.
all like spa style. You
You
will
do a
bathe,
shower.
Yeah, you'll shower before you do it, but they play like tantric music
Yeah.
and doing and like candles and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like it's legit. A lot
I
of
don't know. I think I'd be
it's a
afraid to
stress
be in my
relief.
head for
I'm
that
gonna say
long.
pass.
90 minutes, like
Dude,
gonna
it's
say
why
not
I'd be
long
like,
enough.
I think you would get a lot of really incredible thinking done.
Yeah.
I think it would help your.
Oh, that's
business.
worry. That's the part that
No,
scares me.
the second you accept it, Chris, you'll actually start thinking.
So-
you remind me of somebody who thinks pretty deep into what you're doing.
You'll think really deep.
If you do it,
Come out
you'll
solving
tell-
all the
yeah,
problems.
well,
Yeah.
you'll just have a new outlook and perspective on any of your daily obstacles. I promise you that.
Well, it sounds to me too. Like it could be an opportunity for something we can push veterans to.
Oh,
for-
they
for
would do.
a
Yeah,
di-
they
you
would do
know,
awesome.
with
I know.
their dogs.
I hear a lot
Yeah.
about just non-traditional therapy that veterans do, and different type of acupuncture and the stuff with the ears, and this probably I have never heard of this. So.
If you ever
Yeah.
watch the Joe Rogan
I'll have to look into
podcast,
it.
if you ever
Yeah, it's
watch the
cool,
Joe
man.
Rogan podcast, Joe Rogan actually does it a lot. Like
Lot of-
every week,
yeah.
he does it
A lot
literally.
a lot of veterans are doing it, and it's like it's helping them out.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
You want to do
Yeah,
it?
you
no,
should try
No.
it.
pass.
Now, is there is there a
We
shorter
built-
one?
We
Like
built
I'm
one
a,
out
I'm
back,
a new
okay?
guy.
It's nice.
Is it a what?
I'm gonna make one.
Just
Build
open
one. It's
that door right there.
Paperwork.
No, so it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it's just a tank with a door. You just open the door.
Well, they've
get
got
in,
one at
lay
the top of
down.
every hotel. That little storage.
Dude,
people-
it was, but we're gonna do it again this weekend because it was incredible, and I would highly recommend
Go,
it.
can you, well, I guess you couldn't go live in there, could you?
No, because it's pitch
Nah,
black.
You don't want to have your phone. You want to get away
Yeah.
from all of that
Yeah.
pressure.
It's pretty
Completely
epic.
naked,
Sounds
yeah.
interesting, but you guys let me know how it goes.
Oh well,
Absolutely.
we've already did it. We're telling you.
We're addicted now.
Yeah.
That's why fucking Cody's up here. They don't have one where
I would
he lives.
actually like to do it. Like ideally, like once every couple weeks, I would like to do it. Just because you come out, you feel so refreshed, so relaxed, like your muscles.
Better than a massage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say so.
because you're laying in salt water. You're laying in so it does something.
It's
like-
Epsom salt, which
yeah,
is good for you
which
as
is great.
well.
Any swelling.
Yeah, sure.
So I did Nick. I think I got done with doing Delaware, so I was all knotted up.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like still had open wounds and stuff. Came and hung out with Nick, and he's like, "Hey, I got a surprise for us." And then he pulled up to this building, and I'm like, "What is this?" And he starts talking about it. I start freaking out. I'm like, "No, I don't know." And then, but it was a good experience. The dog
I'll have
was
to
the
try it.
bridge. That dog was the bridge when that dog came
Yeah.
in, and then you knew
The
him. and-
therapy,
And I was
yeah.
like, okay, this is gonna work out.
Where's it at?
Well, the one we went to was in Ashburn.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I got in that thing, and it was literally like I got out, and I was healed all over.
No
all
shit.
all the knots, all the abrasions and stuff. Yeah,
It's called OM Float in Ashburn. OM
Float.
Float.
Check them out.
And there may be ones even closer. That's just the one that I know, the one I knew of, and the one that Cody and I went to. Yeah, it's just omfloat.com.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys,
Get your float on.
yeah, I mean, just Google a float tank in whatever city you're in, and I'm sure like Joe Rogan goes to one all the time in LA, so I'm sure they're kind of everywhere. But I mean, obviously they're not. Unfortunately, they're not paying me to endorse them or anything. But I'm just giving you our genuine experience, and we thought it was amazing.
We'll check it out.
I'm thinking about building one and putting it in the bed of my truck and just.
There you go. There you go. When you're in
No
traffic.
Yep, just pull over and say,
I need 90 minutes, bitches.
Just doing an inception in it, you know.
All right, guys, we're running out of time on the podcast here. Want to thank Chris again for coming in, man, and all your knowledge.
Thanks for having me. Yes.
Super.
SemperK9.org.
Yeah.
Check them out. Donate.
And we'll
It's
put
going
the
to a
link
great
up
cause.
if
I
we
already
have
did.
it.
I pinned the link,
All right, cool.
actually, so the link should be at the bottom of your screen.
So check them out and donate to them.
Please.
Yes.
Please give them donations. You know, they need them.
Nonprofit,
So,
that's cool.
Cody,
Yes, awesome, man.
Man,
Thank you guys. Love
so
you guys.
glad
Love
to
the
have you
dog
back.
show. Best show out there.
awesome, man. Glad to have you guys here for the weekend. Want to thank Brandon for filling in for
you,
Sean and hitting the boards today. Awesome job, dude. That was actually really impressive. He didn't fuck one thing. Even Sean fucks shit up every episode. Not that bad. I'm just kidding. No, awesome job. And then we'll have Sean back whenever he gets back from California. He's out there for a wedding, so he'll be back next week for episode 20.
Sweet.
Nick, anything? Any last words? Anything?
Nope.
All right. We are out of here, and we will see you next week.
Later, guys.